Secret Invasion episode 2 was an hour long, and for an hour long episode, I don't know how I really felt about it. I feel like on one hand, it felt really stretched out, but at the same time, it did set up some interesting stuff with the Skrulls. It also had some pretty cool MCU Easter eggs, and it's nice to see the ties to the broader universe of the MCU. So let's jump into my episode 2 breakdown for Secret Invasion. Welcome to NonStopAntonio, where I talk about everything nerdy. I love Marvel, DC, and anime, and if you do too, I hope you enjoy this video. I find it funny that I have less to say about this episode than I did in episode 1, and it was longer. And with that, my theory about Maria Hill being a Skrull was completely wrong. I totally thought they were going to swap out the body at some point and make it so that our actual Maria Hill wasn't dead, because now with her actually being gone, it feels like they did her dirty. Like, they bring her into the first episode of Secret Invasion, just kill her off. Feels very anticlimactic, and because we haven't seen this character in so long, the death didn't really hit. And also because she has such a big presence in the comics, it feels so weird that they killed her off in this storyline right off the bat. I mean, to be fair, they could all be Skrulls. They set up in this episode that there's like 1 million of them on Earth. So her whole family and all the army could be Skrulls pretending that she's actually dead. But who knows? I think a lot of the stuff during the season is going to be questioning everything. Who's a Skrull? Who isn't? What's really going on? Can we really trust what we're seeing? And that's probably where it's going to play into it, where if there's a big twist by the end of the series that Maria Hill is alive and she's actually just been captive this entire time, that would be a cool twist, but also a twist I think a lot of us would have seen coming. However, with that, we did get flashbacks this episode to 1995 when Captain Marvel landed on Earth, and we got to meet all the Skrulls during that movie, giving us scenes throughout it. Then we jump forward to 1997, where we find out that Nick Fury is literally recruiting Skrulls to be his agents all over the planet and pretty much just implant them in different governments. And the interesting part about this scene where Nick Fury is getting all these Skrulls is that we meet a young Gravik. I totally thought that this character was going to be secretly Nick Fury's son, because we find out at the end of the episode, Nick Fury is married to one. Honestly, never thought we'd see Nick Fury married at all. He seems like a person that would just kind of be on his own, no marriage, no wife, no kids, nothing. But it turns out he's been secretly married to an alien this entire time. But it pretty much shows us how much of a shitty job Nick Fury did at promising the Skrulls something and then not giving it to them. He told them that him and Captain Marvel will find them a new planet, and then pretty much completely forgot about it, or just didn't have time to deal with that with all the world-ending events that's happened since 1997 and pretty much Endgame. However, this does kind of leave a little plot hole with everything that's been going on, because when Hydra attacked, where were all the Skrulls that were infiltrated through all the organizations that could have helped them? Where were all his hidden agents that we never knew about? Which I think introducing the fact that Skrulls have been around this entire time in these organizations is a little bit of a plot hole. However, they did reveal, like I said earlier, that there's 1 million of them on the planet because Talos was just like, yeah, come to Earth. Ooh, you can refuge here after Infinity War, because there's no Nick Fury around because he disappeared. And when he did come back, he just left to the Saber space station and didn't do anything after that. So Talos just made the executive decision to bring all these Skrulls to Earth from the war. First of all, that's 1 million aliens. That is so many possible traitors and bad guys mixed in, because there's so many of them, which I'm sure there are some bad ones mixed in, and that's why we're getting this faction of the Skrulls that are trying to take over the planet. But at the same time, they're just pissed at Nick Fury for not giving them what they want, so now they're just going to take it, and they're just going to take Earth. However, with that, it's cool to see that the invasion has started, and it has been going on pretty much before Infinity War, and they've been here this entire time, even showing that the Skrull Council is full of high-ranking people from around the world. We did have the anchor from FXN News, however, that is a political voice, plus you got the UK Prime Minister and the NATO Security General, and now working with Gravik. To be fair, they did make the Secretary General pretty much join their side. However, the high-ranking members of the government are already cooperating, and it kind of makes me wonder who else is secretly a Skrull. The episode did confirm more of my suspicions about Rhodey, though, because he went to go fire Nick Fury. And he even talks about how he already knew about the Skrulls because there is a secret project by the Pentagon which only certain people knew about, because they feared Skrulls might infiltrate the government, which they did. And he even blames Nick Fury for Maria Hill's death, which is why I'm definitely thinking he is a Skrull, and the Skrulls are using him to manipulate Nick Fury into retiring, going away, and not being a problem for them when they try to take over the planet. So I would not be shocked at this point if Rhodey ends up being a Skrull, and I totally think it's coming. And even during that scene, we got an Alexander Pierce mention, which we know him from Captain America Winter Soldier, the one that was Hydra behind the scenes when they were taking over S.H.I.E.L.D. And because of all this going on too, we got 2 references to the Avengers, which is good to see that they're referencing the Earth's mightiest heroes and the other superheroes on the planet, especially the ones that are supposed to be this team that protect the planet, where Gravik says that he has a plan for them, which is involving the Super Skrulls, which is explained later, but we'll get to that. And then we have Nick Fury, who's saying he doesn't want to get them involved. What happens when a Skrull pretends to be them and commits a terrorist attack, making the Avengers look like terrorists? So pretty much being like, oh, well, if we bring the Avengers in, there's a good chance that the Avengers could also be turned into bad guys because the Skrulls will turn into them. So interesting plot points and a good explanation to why they're not going to be there. The little section with Sonya was really cool. You did not expect this older woman to be this much of a threat. She doesn't look super intimidating, even though she has this presence to her. I love how right away when she goes to interrogate the one Skrull, she just cuts off his finger to confirm that he's a Skrull and then starts torturing him by injecting him with some stuff that would make his core body temperature and blood boil, which was pretty freaky, but he gave up Gravik pretty easily. I mean, to be fair, he was suffering, but Gravik ended up murdering him in the end anyways because they gave up their locations. However, with all this going on, we see what Gaia is doing. She's snooping around her base, seeing that they're doing experiments, you know, making the Super Skrulls, and when she's looking at the computer, we see multiple MCU references from throughout the years, which is pretty freaking sick. Because we had Groot from Planet X, the Flora Colossus, which Planet X is where Groot is from, and I'm guessing this is probably leftover roots from Endgame. And then we had a Frost Beast from Jotunheim, which would have came from Thor: The Dark World. Then we had the Cull Obsidian hand, and I don't think this is the first reference we've gotten to his hand. I remember it in something else, but I'm blanking on the show right now. They also had the Extremis information from Iron Man 3, but the thing is with this episode is it really felt like it set up all these plot points. The Skrulls already being on Earth and having this giant invasion already pretty much taking place and them in places of power, making us suspect some of the characters we already know. And then on top of it all, setting up the Super Skrulls because they've been doing experiments. They have DNA from other creatures and projects that gave people powers. So now they just need to give themselves powers, which is pretty interesting. And I'm kind of curious to see if they have any more DNA from other people we haven't seen yet that might be giving them unique powers. Maybe a hint to a character we haven't seen yet in the MCU. But I am glad it did reference the MCU with Captain Marvel and then the Avengers and then all those other pieces from throughout the years. It makes it feel like it's still connected of this broader universe, but also it's somewhat standalone. So I'm curious to see how they play with it and also who they're going to reveal is a Skrull. What did you think of this episode? Did it feel like a setup episode more than anything else? How do you feel about the MCU Easter eggs that were laid within it? Hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all my Secret Invasion breakdowns, as well as staying up to date with all my movie ones as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.